As open show with our
You are listening to the Awakened Radio Network. Visit our website at www.awakenedradio.net, where you can find out all about the Awakened Radio host, take part in our forum, and chat with us in our live mobile chat room. Want to listen on the go? Go to tunein.com, download their free app, and search for Awakened Radio. We are always here for you on the Awakened Radio Network. Have you experienced the power of one? A brand new challenge for all of our hosts and listeners at the Awakened Radio Network is the power of one. One person taking one action. And through the power of agreement, that action creating mightily. Find out all about the power of one at awakenedradio.net. Discover how you can help to create with other people, one person at a time. Awakened Radio is brought to you in part by the Awakened Store at awakenedradio.net. You'll find autographed copies of Dr. May's books, guided meditations by Ragozzine and Dr. May, Native American style dream catchers, medicine gemstone jewelry, stones, crystals, and a whole lot more. Support the Awakened Radio Network by visiting the Awakened Store today. awakenedradio.net. We understand and activate the power of one.
Welcome. You're now tuned in to your unfolding senses on Awakened Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ragozzine. This show's all about opening up to and accessing your full intuitive capabilities, and we're all intuitive. I offer a wide range of topics, including everything from archetypes, chakras and dreams, to numerology and tarot. We also try experiments and exercises on the show, and for you to try later on when you're alone. The show airs every Thursday night at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, and it's brought to you by intuitionbyrap.net, where I offer other tips and tools related to show topics. Please join us every week and enjoy the show, and don't forget to invite your friends. And remember, we're all intuitive. Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Your Unfolding Senses. I'm your host, author, and explorer, Ragozzine. It's 10 p.m., April 10th, 2014. Tonight, we're talking about anxiety. It's all about being curious and wondering how you can be guided by your heart. And with tonight's topic, we're looking at how we can be blocked by our own anxiety and how we can remove our anxiety and heal it and look within ourselves at the true cause. Feel free to call in and ask questions or make comments. You might ask about tarot, numerology, dreams, or, of course, anxiety, which we're discussing tonight. We're also having a guest who will be talking about what I started talking about last week, which is the Enneagram, and the two fit well together since we can look at how our personality type influences how we behave and how we have anxiety. You can join us in chat at awakenedradio.net. Just be sure to click on the live chat tab. You can call 334-649-7204 or at Awakened Radio to Skype, and you can talk with us and ask questions. Special thanks to Susan Kern, and Donna for a good healing session tonight. And we have our guest, Beth, on the line. And Beth has been studying the Enneagram for several years and is now earning a certification so that she can teach. Hello, Beth. How are you?
Hello, Rob. I'm doing good. Thank you.
I'm glad that you were able to call in tonight. And thanks for joining us. I know how it can be stressful, but have fun. And we're just here to learn.
All right. That sounds great.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got interested in the Enneagram?
Sure. I got interested in the Enneagram actually through my church. I was an active member of a small United Methodist church here in St. Paul, and one of our members was a certified teacher. And she actually worked with the confirmation kids, so middle school age kids, using the Enneagram as sort of a form of self-discovery for them. And then a few years after that introduction, I took on the role in that same congregation as the spiritual director for adults, youth, and young adults. And so I started working with the Enneagram there in conjunction with Center in Prayer to help people sort of
see themselves better?
Yeah, get themselves better, get to know themselves better, kind of get out of their own way.
But this could be used by anybody,
better
right?
People. Exactly.
Yes.
It's actually a very ancient model of looking at humanity. It comes kind of from the Sufi ancient Muslim tradition.
So well, I've heard various things around 5,000 years old.
Yes, very old. And for a long time it was considered very secret, and then there's this kind of a movement now to open it up and be used by everybody.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And we all can use it. And since we were talking about anxiety today, I really wanted to get someone who has identified themselves so they can talk about how they see anxiety.
Yes, and my type, with the Enneagram, there are 9 sort of personality types. My type is type 6, which tends to be the most anxious, and I can certainly see that in myself. I tend to
But that's just
worry.
a label, right?
It's just a label.
It's just a starting point to recognize that, I tend to sit in my fear a lot longer than other people.
Exactly. And I tend to go to my fear automatically without thinking about it. Everybody certainly has anxiety. And I kind of think of it almost as that's just the lens I look at the world through.
That's your lens.
Yep.
Now, I'd like to, my type is 5, so
okay.
Not only do we look at it from the fearful perspective, but it's sort of like we want to hide in our hole, away from everybody, because they might be trying to hurt us.
And 6s can do that. We also tend to be a little more social about it than 5s. And so I think of myself, I noticed as I work through this, I have a tendency to enter a room and be quiet as I'm scanning the room, figuring out who might like me, who might not, what I can do to make people like me a little more. And I tend to kind of mentally work a room whenever I enter it to figure out how I'm going to be safe in that space.
They talk about wings within the Enneagram, which is a little more advanced, but that might be a little bit of the 5 wing.
Exactly. Yeah, and nobody is all just sort of one thing. You kind of, it's almost more like a color wheel. You kind of, the different categories kind of bleed into each other. And
you're always developing and growing.
Yes.
There's no hope for you. That's it. This is the way you are. No.
It's where kind of your type is sort of your starting point. And then you see kind of like what what other parts of those other numbers are in you, and how can you use them when that's what you should. Maybe I should be acting more like a 5 in certain circumstances. Or maybe I should be more like a 7 and be a little more playful, a little more free in certain circumstances. You kind of learn how to access all of that energy.
Yeah. Process it
Exactly.
in relationship. So if you know you're entering into a talk with someone who's a 5, maybe you take a few steps back. Or if an 8, maybe you take a few steps forward.
Exactly. And actually both my daughter and my boyfriend are 8s. And it took me a long time to realize that they want me to step forward. They want me to push back on them, which is something I would never do because I thought that bothered people. But 8s really like somebody to kind of get right up in their face. And so kind of learning how other people want you to react to them is very helpful. And yeah, I'm learning to give 5s their space. I have some dear friends who are 5s, and they never understand why if I was being playful, they would often physically pull back from me. It's like, it's not about me, it's about what they need.
So additionally this week, it's week 15 of 2014, which relates to the devil card, and part of anxiety is feeling trapped. Can you talk a little bit about what happens when you feel like there's no solution?
Whoa, that is a very familiar feeling to me. Once I feel that I'm trapped and there's no solution, I personally can't be talked out of that space. There's no logic that's going to get me out of there. I would say I have to really realize that's what I'm doing and that's where I am. And I'm hesitating because I often get there and I don't know how I get out until just recently. But I have to really work on how I'm physically feeling and work with that. I have to do some deep breathing. And it's almost like I can feel those stress chemicals just sort of washing through me.
So you have to make time for stillness.
I do have to make time for stillness, yes.
And it's getting through that mind chatter that says that's not going to be effective at all. It's not logical.
It is. You're right. The first few times I really started working with sitting in silence for up to 20 minutes, it almost made me cry because that urge to get up and do something, do anything, move, fix, fuss, was so strong that it made me cry to overcome it. I've been doing that now for almost 10 years, and I have to say that if I go a couple days without it, I can feel the change in me. I can feel my anxiety coming back faster and taking control harder, and I'm more likely to get into that trapped space.
And how does that feel to you?
You know, it's really hard at that point to not then turn that into more self-recrimination. And see, you did this to yourself. You put yourself here because you weren't keeping up on your meditation. And so it's just kind of another level of going, you know what? It is what it is. It's okay. Let it go. Take a breath. I feel like I'm always getting better, but I'm never there. You know, I'm never done getting better.
But it's having compassion for yourself at the same time.
Oh, a lot of compassion. That's one of the things I really like about the Enneagram is the word that keeps coming into my head is kindness. It's such a kind way of looking at other people and looking at myself and accepting myself for right where I am right now.
Yes, telling yourself, this is what I do, but I can change it.
But I can change it, and if I can't change it, that's okay too. You know, it's just this sort of, it just keeps coming back to, like you say, compassion for myself, compassion for other people, and maybe where I am, maybe I can't change right now. Maybe I will 15 minutes from now. Maybe I will tomorrow. But all I've got is what I am today, and I'm okay with it. I'm still lovable. I'm still a good person. I'm still okay right where I am.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that's good enough for this moment.
Exactly. And that's, that's an amazingly hard thing to come to. And it's tempting for me to say it's an amazingly hard thing for me to come to as a 6, but having talked to people of other types, I think it's really hard for all of us to come to. That we're just okay.
It goes back to how we process the information, the situation, the emotions. And as a 6, you're not wanting to connect to the emotions, so that's a great step.
It is, yeah. And like you're right. And like 5, 6s are in their head that I need to figure it out logically or it doesn't help. And that's another place where that stillness comes in, and I can almost watch those emotions come up and go, okay, that is how I'm feeling today.
That's awesome self-growth there, to really understand that much about yourself and be able to still stay within the tension of the moment.
Well, thank you. The training that I did as part of my certification was amazing at that. The people who led us through that would not let us get out of staying in the moment, no matter how painful it was. And some of us tried really hard, but it's amazing to me again and again how if I stay in the moment with those emotions, they just wash over me and they're gone.
And ideally, the training have like panels of people so that you could see yourself in the front of the room.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. And the panels that they do were amazing.
Yes, because you get to see how everyone else answers the same questions, and it's completely different. So, yeah.
Yep. It's amazing to see a whole panel of a certain type up there. And you can see the individual differences, but you can also see how all those individuals are reacting in the same way.
And you can see their energy, their demeanor, which is really neat. Because the 8s are generally, standing up there saying, you don't belong in the room with me. And the 5s are all looking down.
Yep.
And shuffling.
Yep. And, 7s tend to be, a lot of people are, I wish I could be a 7 because they're so exciting and they're kind of the party people, but they were impossible to pin down, to take a question seriously. They're very entertaining to watch, but...
Well, that's how they deflect.
Exactly. And then once they were pinned down, it was just like they shattered. And you could just see how much left.
And that's not everyone, of course.
No. But that's that power of staying in the moment. When they stayed in the moment, all of that deflection came away for them, and it was pretty amazing.
Now, we haven't run through the various types. Could you take a moment to run through them?
Sure. There are 9 types. The 1, and they've all got nicknames usually, and the nicknames kind of change depending on whose book you're reading and who's teaching. But the 1s are considered the perfectionists. They tend to be, each individual 1 will have a different thing, but they're very concerned with being right, and they're very particular. They want whatever they care about has to be just so. And only they can do it. They're very attuned to what's wrong in a given situation and what needs to happen to make it right. And so, that's a really great thing to have. You think about the workplace. You really like to have people like that. But you can also see how that can get in their way in personal relationships. And they're not team people, no. But if you need somebody to make sure it's just so, or to point out why it's not just so, they're the people you need. And then twos are usually, I can't think of some of the names for the twos, but twos tend to be caretakers, kind of your stereotypical mother character. In fact, a lot of nurturers, a lot of women will test out, do for everyone else. So very open, very about relationships, very often divide themselves by the relationships, often have trouble knowing what their own needs are. The threes tend to be performers. They're sort of the top salesman, the really aggressive business person, the person who's got everything they're involved in is organized. They're very much tied into getting approval from other people for how much they're able to accomplish. If anybody's a fan of 30 Rock, I usually think of Jack in that show, and kind of, the businessman.
The schmoozer.
The schmoozer, exactly. They often don't feel themselves like they're being authentic, because it's all about what kind of image they can put out there. Fours are called rogues. They tend to be sort of very, almost too in touch with their emotions. What they feel is the only sort of reality. It can be the only reality for them. So they tend to be, you kind of think of your stereotypical temperamental artists, poets, even though they will have all professions, but that's kind of the feeling of them. And you spoke to fives. Fives are usually very information-based. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
I know that the fives in my life love to be the expert about the topic they're an expert about. And fives often withdraw.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I heard somebody say recently that they felt that there was a problem or stressed. They need to find out as much as they could about something, anything, and that would make them okay. Which I thought was an interesting insight. And then the sixes are sometimes called the loyal skeptics. Sixes can be very loyal to authority figures, sometimes too loyal, whether that's a person or an institution. And that's where we look to for our safety, because we don't feel that we can take care of ourselves. So we kind of latch on to people that we feel are stronger, or institutions we feel are stronger. But at the same time, we question everything because we don't trust that. So it can end up feeling a little sort of almost schizophrenic, being a six sometimes. But on the other hand, we are great planners because we're always looking for what might go wrong so we can plan around it. Sevens tend to be, as I said, they're very outgoing, they're very easily distracted, they're the optimists, they're always looking for the next best thing. And that's kind of their way of deflecting their own pain and hiding from their own feelings. Eights are sometimes called the protector or the white knight. They like to go out and defend the defenseless. Kind of your stereotypical alpha male. They're usually come across loud and strong. They take up a lot of room in the room. They're often sitting on the edge of their chair, leaning forward, getting in your face. Some people can find them very abrasive, and they can be very abrasive, but in their heart, they really feel like they're doing it for a lost cause, to save somebody. They like to come in and fix things for other people. And I've heard them talking to eights, inside there's usually a little child that doesn't feel anybody took care of it, so they're going out and taking care of all the other little children who need someone. And then finally is the 9, and I've heard 9s described as having a mountain-like energy. 9s can be very laid back. They can come across as lazy, but they're usually very quiet, but also kind of very stubborn. Once they've decided on something, they've decided on it, and it's done. On the other hand, they're very easygoing. If they're whatever you want to do, they'll probably want to do too. That's cool. A lot of the 9s I've talked to genuinely don't see why their opinion matters in a situation. They genuinely don't think their opinion is any more important than anybody else's. You seem to care more. Let's do what you want to do. And so that's kind of a way to turn off from what they are truly feeling. They can just kind of turn off their own feelings and live to other people.
That's great.
So those are the 9 types.
Thank you for that description. That's very helpful. Hopefully people can see a little bit of themselves in one of those numbers, but it does take time to really scan through it all and learn about it for yourself.
It does, and learn about yourself.
Yes.
There are some online tests you can take, and I have done that, but I also tell people really what you want to do is use that as a starting point and just kind of see what feels right to you and see what makes sense with how you look at the world.
Well, we only have about 3 minutes until break, so if you can share a way for people to reach you so that if they had questions, they can ask them.
Absolutely. I have a website, which is buildingebenezers.com. I also have a Twitter account dedicated just to the Enneagram and being a 6 on the Enneagram, and that account is at Ennea Type 6. It's the word 6, not the number 6. And those are probably the 2 best ways to reach me.
Okay, that's great. If you'd like to stay for a little bit and answer questions, if we have any questions, that'd be great, but you don't have to necessarily. It's up to you.
I'd be glad to do that.
Okay. Let me just do some break business, and then when we come back, we can take questions.
That sounds good.
Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in and listening tonight to Your Unfolding Senses here. I just like to talk about Thrive Magazine, and if you've written anything and blog about it, and you'd like to share it to a wider audience, you can do that here at awakenedradio.net by contributing to Thrive Magazine, and that's articles, art, or poetry. And it's a great opportunity to have your material shared through the community. And we also share a link back to your site and your bio. So take some time to think about that. And we take contributions up to the 20th of every month. So once again, we have about 10 days to contribute to next month's issue. And if you're so inclined and you've enjoyed our shows, donations are always greatly appreciated since we're host and listener supported. So we're here at no cost to you, so please find it in your heart to click the donate button at the top of all the screens here at Awakened Radio. And when we get back, we'll ask Beth some questions, and I'll give you the numbers here at the radio station for you to call at awakenradio.net. Thanks for listening.
You won't get me sleeping through the night. My ballers open showing our inside and lights so bright. We all awaken. Come and join.
And now a word from our Awakened Radio sponsors. Do you have health and medical problems the regular medical system cannot seem to figure out how to fix? If the answer is yes, then check out RifeEnergyMedicine.com. That is Rife, spelled R-I-F-E, RifeEnergyMedicine.com, for a new way to approach many of your health problems. RifeEnergyMedicine.com. Check out Thrival with DonnaDevane.com. Find out all about the author, radio show host, life teacher, and coach, Donna Devane, at thrivalwithdonnadevane.com. Be sure and check out her new Kindle books at Amazon.com. Awakened Radio is also brought to you by the Awakened Store right here at awakened.net/Awakened Store, where you can find handcrafted jewelry, Native American dream catchers, smudge kits, medicine bags, hair feathers, books, audio guided meditations, and a whole lot more. Check us out at awakendradio.net/Awakened Store. Connect with the Awakened Radio host on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Awakened Radio. We love hearing from our listeners. Take part in our fan page and share it with your friends. Let's have fun on the Awakened Radio Facebook fan page, facebook.com/Awakened Radio.
Welcome. You're now tuned in to your Unfolding Senses on Awakened Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ragozzine. This show's all about opening up to and accessing your full intuitive capabilities, and we're all intuitive. I offer a wide range of topics, including everything from archetypes, chakras, and dreams, to numerology and tarot. We also try experiments and exercises on the show, and for you to try later on when you're alone. The show airs every Thursday night at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, and it's brought to you by IntuitionByRob.net, where I offer other tips and tools related to show topics. Please join us every week and enjoy the show, and don't forget to invite your friends. And remember, we're all intuitive. And we're back. Thanks for listening to Awakened Radio. And we're talking with Beth tonight about the Enneagram. And if you have questions, you can join us in the chat room, awakenedradio.net. Click on the live chat tab, or add Awakened Radio to Skype, or call 334-649-7204. And we already have a question in the chat, and Donna thinks she might be a 1. Now, the 1s are the people that tend to be the nobody else is as good as me, and nobody else can help me to finish this. Isn't that correct, Beth?
Yeah, that's how they present. That's how they would show up to those of us who are not ones. But that's based in a feeling that they have that they themselves are not good enough.
Right. It's more than just the actions.
Right. And so, yeah, ones tend to be very judgmental, but it's also often because they're even more judgmental to themselves. And that's kind of how that shows up. I'm trying to think if I've got anything more about, ones tend to be body-centered, and so they tend to react very angrily when things are not right. I mean, I've seen ones get physically angry and upset when things are not done correctly.
Let me ask you something. I'm Donna, by the way, listening in the background. I have this. I guess I need to go take a test somewhere because I can see a little bit of me in quite a few of the numbers. Is that normal?
That is very normal. We all do some of those things all the time. What I tell people to do is to look for the one. Some Enneagram writers talk about your addiction. That's the thing that you go to all the time, often without even thinking about it. And that's why it takes some sort of self-reflection to realize that. But an online test or, just a little test might be really good at helping you, point you in the right direction to start looking.
Now, what did you mean by addiction? Look to your addiction. What did you mean?
It's just that's kind of the way you act.
Your normal reaction.
It's the way you react without even thinking about it, and you can't consciously stop doing it. It's just sort of your automatic way of reacting.
So we were describing the panels before, and like you'd have a group of 5s who would be shuffling and looking down, and the 8s would be looking out at the room and taking up a lot of space, and you might want to even leave the room.
I could be an 8 then, because I'm always sitting on the edge of my chair,
Yeah.
My legs are always open. My arms are always open. I'm always leaning forward. I mean, not always, but when I'm in a conversation with someone, that's how I physically present, even when I do radio.
So Donna, I have a question for you.
Okay.
How do you want people to react to you when you're like that? If you and I were sitting in the same room looking at each other over a cup of coffee, and you're leaning forward and you're gesturing and you're taking up a lot of space, how would you want me to react to that? Would you want me to be leaning forward too?
Yep.
That is very 8.
Yeah. I want you to meet me in this space, and we're gonna have this intense conversation about ideals.
I have heard so many 8s use exactly that phrase. I want you to meet me there.
Yeah.
I want you to match my energy.
Yeah.
Now, just so you know how this works, and like I said before, the 2 people I love most in this world are 8s, and I love 8 energy. But every time I'm with an 8 and they're doing that, my 6 response is to back up and to take up as little space as possible.
And see, for me, that for me triggers either a predator response, to go after you and make you meet me in that space, or I turn around and go, not worth the trouble. I mean, I'm not, I'm just being raw. I'm me. Okay. I don't fluff it, but that's how it feels to me. Go ahead.
Can I just say, Donna, that I am almost positive you're an 8.
Okay.
And I think that's such our different ways of reacting to that are so, I think is why learning about the Enneagram is so important. Because if I know that's what somebody wants, I can overcome my gut response to back up.
Yeah.
And say, okay, I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
Part of me doesn't want to. Part of me wants to turn tail and run, but I know that what you want is for me to meet you there. And if you know I'm a 6 and I might be a little tired and I back up, you can say, okay, I want Beth to meet me here, but she's tired.
Yeah.
She's slipping into her 6 space. I'll back up a little bit and give her some space.
Well, I've learned that with most people, with different types. Some types of people, if I lean forward and expect them to meet me there, they become very defensive. So with those people, I've learned to back off. And with, I guess, what you would call 6s, I've learned to take a few steps back, not a whole lot, but a few steps back, in hopes that you will sense that as an invitation to move forward.
So if you're conscious, you will.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That is exactly how I would take that. I have to say that is exactly how I would take that. But okay, you gave me a little space, and now I can come forward a little bit.
Yeah.
It's about choosing to be aware of how you're acting and reacting.
Yeah.
Yes, and the only way that we can have that freedom to choose is if we are really aware of what we are and where we are.
Aware of where anxiety pushes us.
Exactly.
Well, I am relieved to know that I'm not a 1, because I was kind of looking at it and going, well, I don't really like being a 1.
There are some similarities between a 1 and an 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
but I think
the part of the 1 that I was connecting with was, get out of my way, I'll do it. I know what I want done. Yeah. I know what I want, and rather than me spending 2 hours explaining it to you, just move and I'll do it. You watch me and you'll know how next time.
Yep. And see, whereas a 1 might do that same thing, but what they're saying is you can't do it right, but I can.
Okay.
And the 1 doesn't portray as powerful.
Okay.
Yes.
The 1 takes up much less space than the 8.
Okay.
The 1 will be gone before the 8 even moves a foot.
Okay. Well, Rob, would you concur that I am most likely an 8?
Yes, I would concur.
Okay. I will accept that then, and I will strive to be ever more mindful. And I'll be honest with you. I have had many people tell me that when I walk in a room, I take up the whole space, and I'm 5'2".
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter your size.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's an 8, and I've actually gotten into arguments with people about how tall she is. Because she's actually shorter than I am, and I'm not that tall.
Yeah.
But I always think of her as being much taller than she is.
Well, I've had friends, a guy that I dated that must have been a 6, because I finally, he wasn't worth pursuing anymore. But he used to ask me why my daughter and I always had to live in such big houses, and I jokingly would comment, because we have big energy, we need a lot of space. So maybe I am an 8, and I'm just finding that out tonight.
Donna, there are a lot of websites you can go to where they will give different descriptions of the types. And I would encourage you to go and just go to a couple different ones and look at the different descriptions of an 8 and see if that makes sense to you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, Beth, let's talk briefly about being in a relationship with others, since Donna, for instance, just discovered she's an 8. So, for instance, she gets along wonderfully most times with her daughter. And she was just talking about how they both have big energy. So to look at it from that perspective.
I find that even if I don't say anything to someone, if I feel like I can get a sense of what type they might be, that helps me really see that they're not looking at the world exactly the way I am. I think it's very easy to slip into that mode of, if somebody does something that hurts me, they did it to hurt me. Or if somebody does something that makes me angry, they did it to make me angry. And I can't figure out why they wanted to make me angry. Knowing that there are different types, I can say, okay, what did I do to push their buttons? What did I do to make them reactive? Or what's going on with them? And it might have nothing to do with me whatsoever. So I think that's the biggest part of being in relationship with people when it comes to the Enneagram, is just getting that, so my big motivator is fear. It's not like I'm afraid and everybody else, all the other members, are brave. It's that I vacillate between being brave and being fearful, and an 8 is caught up in being in control.
And being powerful.
Being powerful. It never occurs to me to try to take control of a situation. That's just not on my radar. A 1 is obsessed with being right. That's not on my radar. So if I do something that's not right in the eyes of a 1, I didn't do it because I knew that would make them angry. I did it because I'm not even thinking about that. So I think that idea that there are basically 9 different ways of looking at the world and interpreting the world is so helpful in knowing that everybody's got their own thing going on. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with me.
That's great advice. I like it. It doesn't have to do with me.
Yeah, and that's a hard one to give up.
Well, do you have any nuggets of wisdom that you can leave us with? Wait a minute. Another question we have.
Oh, okay.
What? Oh, I think it was what types of questions do they ask in the groups? And well, really, it's kind of, they'll have a series of, I don't know, 1 to 10 questions, and they'll run through, maybe not even 10, maybe 5, and they'll run through each panel of people, right?
Yeah, they get, the way I saw it done is, and we were all had a chance to be on a panel, they get everybody from one type up, and then they asked us kind of how we knew we were a 6, what in us resonated with that. And then they would, the next question I thought was really interesting was, if I thought of myself as a 6, looking back, when did I first experience that? When did I sort of have that first sort of 6 experience? And most people can go pretty far back into their childhood where there was something where something clicked in their head and they said, this is what I need to do to get through life. And then it would be how does your type play out in your relationships? How does it play out in your workplace? How is it getting in your way? How is it helping you? So just sort of questions to both get us talking about what our experience was like so other people could see it, but also to get us to start exploring what it really meant to us and how it really was maybe getting in our way.
Just to see your patterns, to see where you normally go and what are your normal behaviors, and to see how different they are from the other panels. To see that, like you were saying, well, I'm not in fear all the time, or I'm not in power all the time, whereas someone else might be.
Exactly.
So that's why it really helps to see a panel, to actually go to live training or at least read the book so that you can get a better understanding of all the types and how they interact. Because sometimes you'll learn about how you're type by how you interact with other people.
Exactly.
And I think we have no, it's not a question. But I did have a question regarding what's next for you once you're done with the training. Are you going to be writing a book?
Oh, no, probably not. What I would like to do is look at, and this might end up being a book, but what I'd really like to do is look at how the different Enneagram types experience creativity. And I actually on my website have a survey up. So I'm asking people who write to talk about what that's like to them and what gets in their way. Because talking with people about trying to be creative and what gets in their way, I think there are different problems that different types have. And then hopefully to take that out and to help people find a way to work around those problems so they can be more creative in whatever they're trying to do.
I think that everyone knows what I know. And whatever I'm writing is interesting because they already know it. But no, that's not the case.
Exactly.
So that's the 5 thinking. I guess we had someone asked earlier for a link to take the test. Do you know of any links?
I do.
I
I don't off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Is there a way that I could send those to you and you
You
can
can
put them
send
out on
them
the
to
forum?
me. Sure, I can put them in the forum when you send them to me. That'd be no problem.
Okay. Yeah, there's a test that's fairly easy, really short to take, and it's free. And I'll just give you a very, I think there's a starting point to look at where you might be and see how much that makes sense to you.
Right,
So
because if we're not, I think the biggest mistake is to quickly label yourself, and then that's it. There's no more exploration.
The biggest fear about people with tests is that they will just go, that's what I am, now I'm done.
That's just a starting point.
Exactly, that's just a starting point. And the most important part of the Enneagram for me is that I've learned to look or looking at what I've learned about myself is I examine myself and to know patterns and patterns and explore and move beyond my patterns.
And notice, I guess Donna just talking about noticing her reaction to thinking that she was a 1. So notice your reactions and notice where that takes you. Right?
Exactly. And one of the words that one of my trainers used a lot was curious. And just be curious about why you react to the things you do. I like that word because it doesn't have any judgment. You're not going, what's wrong with you? What's going on there? And so, yeah, just to kind of notice what you're doing, be curious about it, and see if that's working for you right now, and if not, what else could you do?
Right.
Kind of what Donna was saying with learning that, some people she had to step way back for, and some people she could just step back a little bit and invite them into that space.
So I guess the compassion plays there. How can you be more inviting? And
Exactly.
some of that is obviously defense.
Yes.
We all have different defenses. So the 5 is to leave. Not maybe physically, but mentally. Whereas the 6 is just keep worrying and doubting.
Yep, and to keep it. And to keep everybody happy and on my side so they won't hurt me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to get those, be willing to look at defenses and be how can I change them? How have these served me?
Yeah, I think that's a real big one. Is this hurting me right now? I mean, those are all good things. None of them are bad, but they might not be doing what we want them to do at any given point.
So it's giving yourself some space and at least stepping away for a little bit.
Exactly.
What was the hardest thing for you to learn about yourself?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. What was the most exciting thing for you to learn about yourself?
I was actually just writing about afternoon, and one of the things that was, I guess, a little scary, but also funny in the way it happened was when I realized out of the blue how much anxiety was a habit for me. I was down visiting a boyfriend who was in another town. We had a wonderful weekend together. I was at a point when everything in life was going well. My job was going great. We had a wonderful day. We were in bed. He was sound asleep, and I was just looking, and it was just like, I just felt like my body was this huge sort of sigh of relief, and then I head, say, what should I read now? In that same tone that you would say, oh, I had a busy day at work, what should I watch on TV? I'm like, what are you doing? You're bored, you're tired, and you're just literally fishing for something to worry about. And it never occurred to me before how much I did that just to have it. My brain isn't doing anything, so I better start finding something to worry about. And it was funny because it was so obvious, and it was so foolish. It was also scary in that it was the potential for just digging up dirt the weekend was so right there for me. That was probably, I was able to stop it, but if that voice kept coming back until I fell asleep. Well, maybe you should know. I don't need to worry about that. Maybe you should worry about this. No, And so it really is, if anybody does meditation and you just kind of learn to let the thoughts are just going to come and you just let them go, it's that same experience. I try to worry about something and just let it go. Not now. You don't have to worry about that now. So yeah, I think that was probably the most maybe dramatic thing that I learned about myself.
Well, Beth, we only have about 4 minutes left tonight. Can you share your links again so that people can find you?
Absolutely. My Twitter account is at EnneaType6 with 6 spelled out. And my website is buildingebenezers.com.
And if people are a writer or other creative type, you have a survey up?
I do. I have a survey up. I will have it up probably to the end of April. And please, it's only about 20 questions. Just what you're writing, what kind of problems you have, how you think that if your Ennea type might affect that. And if you don't know, I just remembered now, I do have a link to that free test on my website with the survey. So people can take that quickly if they want and then go and complete the survey.
Okay, so they can help you out with your creativity query, and they can take a test and learn about themselves.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much, Beth. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Been a lot of fun. And thank you for taking time out and spending much more than 10 minutes with us.
Thank you very much, Bob. I had a really good time.
Thank you very much. That was Beth talking about the Enneagram tonight. And if you have any questions about it, you will be able to find her in the forum. And she has a query up, about how creativity and the Enneagram help you or don't hurt you. So you can definitely, especially if you're a writer, you can help her find a way that the Enneagram can help you to be working with creativity. So it's an opportunity to explore something that you might not have tried before. So give that a shot. That'll be in the forum. And also, since we've been talking about anxiety and creativity, you can find my book, Your Life Counts, on Amazon. That talks all about following your heart, following the guidance of your life path, your neurological life path, and that can help you to live in a way that you really want to ask the questions that we were talking about tonight. Why is anxiety blocking me, and how can I begin to truly follow the guidance of my heart and step past these blocks? And that's what I help you do, work through a series of exercises in my book. So it's a great opportunity to work through some of your anxiety issues. Not saying all of them, but you'll begin to be able to see clearly through your anxiety. So thanks for listening tonight. stay tuned again next week for a continuation of this topic, anxiety.
Awaken Radio Network is brought to you by our advertisers, sponsors, and listeners like you who shop at our on-site store and make donations to the station. Visit